welcome to today's episode of the Simply Financial podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Calandra. Today's episode is going to have a guest, my new friend, Brett DePasquale of Creative Financial Network. I want to, like always with the show, is increase your financial IQ with today's discussion. So Brett, thanks for joining me today. I've really been looking forward to this discussion.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
So everyone listening who is a client of Elliott Wealth Management knows by now that I have merged my practice into Creative Financial Network, of which you are a part of. Part of this arrangement is this merger is to get Lindy, my partner and right hand, some help because we're stretched thin. And in large part, you are, Brett, the help. So you're a financial advisor. You're going to be assisting Lindy and I so that we could serve our clients at a very high level, like we've been doing for a long time. So I want to just talk a little bit about you, your background, and allow me to learn a little bit about you as well as the listeners, which of course includes a lot of the clients here at Elliott Wealth Management. So to begin with, how long have you been a financial advisor?
Well, I've been an advisor now for about 14 years. Started back in around 2010 with MetLife, did a stint with them, and also after about 7 years went independent. So I've been doing it now for a total of 14 years, both growing the business, learning, and absorbing as much as I possibly can. And that's where I am now.
So given that it's 14 years, does this mean that this is the only job you've had or career you've had post-college?
It is. Right out of college, I actually went to work for a jewelry store for 3 long months. Got some more education in jewelry, diamonds, all of that while I was getting my licenses and exams. So 3 months of information on jewelry and then 14 years financial advising.
All right, very good. I understand too, although I haven't met him yet, your dad was or is a financial advisor. So I'm curious to find out, when you were growing up, what are some of your earliest memories about what you learned about money when you were a kid?
So my dad was a financial advisor for 44 years. He did it throughout my entire life, was with MetLife also. So I learned from him when I first started in the business. So one of the major advantages to having a dad, number one, who was in the business, is I got to see him do his job my entire life through my personal aspects of playing sports through high school and college and growing up. He taught me a lot, but it wasn't just about what he taught me. It was about seeing him do the job, seeing him also interact with clients. So the number one thing I would say that he always instilled with me is do the right thing and it'll come back around to you. The golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated. So by watching him interact with clients and also with coworkers and his work ethic, I was able to see what success looked like, and it gave me a nice model to be able to model how I wanted to run my business and my practice.
Very good. I feel at 53 now, this has been the only career I've ever had, Brett. I feel lucky that at an early age, I sort of knew what I wanted to do, that I wanted to be, I wouldn't have known the term, but I essentially wanted to work, with money, with investments, with clients. And it was, I think, to my advantage to kind of know my pathway early. It was easy, Brett, to seem motivated and hardworking because I knew what I wanted, where I wanted to go. It's hard to be motivated if you're not sure what you want to do for a career, So how young were you when you thought you wanted to follow in your dad's footsteps? Was it, high school or college? Do you know when you started to think about creating your own career in this industry?
So I'd always thought about it going into college, but I was also torn with a completely separate line of work. Wanted to be a state trooper or an FBI agent for a long while. So I also have a minor in criminal justice. So that kind of went down that path. But the big thing was just kind of seeing the amount of time that my dad had growing up to be at my baseball games, to be at school events, to be around the family. Time is one of your greatest, if not your greatest asset of all. So just seeing the work-life balance that he was able to achieve. Later on in my college life, I started realizing that was the path that I wanted to go down. My mom was a little bit upset though. She was actually in the Secret Service with under Reagan's administration. So once I told her I was going dad's way, she was a little upset, but she understood.
Ah, you picked dad over mom. That's a tough thing in an Italian household, especially.
She doesn't take it well.
So you already gave a few hints of this, but I was curious when you decided you were going to go into the business. You've already shared how you observed your dad and knew a little bit about the business, the work-life balance. I think you mentioned the golden rule. So when you decided you were going to go in the business, say when you were studying for your licenses, did he give you any advice about getting started and being successful in this career? Anything additional you can note?
Well, when I first started, I thought that I could do it all myself, like any 22, 23-year-old would. So that didn't go well at first. I was stubborn and didn't want help from anybody, including him. So after I got past those couple months of pain, I realized that I should probably fly under his wing a little bit and learn from him. So from then on, we kind of partnered on a lot of different things. I went on appointments with him. I met his clients. I saw how he did business. I saw how he interacted with people. And I just started developing my own style around that, tailoring it to my personality, learning about his processes and what was most important to clients and all the relationships that he built over the course of his career. So I kind of meshed into that. And once we worked together for probably 4 or 5 years, he decided to start phasing out and towards retirement. So I then started developing my own sense of processes, sense of style, if you will,
Yeah.
and while still keeping some of his roots.
Very good. That sounds like a terrific role model and a lot of advantages to see someone that you respect and who has your interest at heart to be able to learn. That I imagine helped with the learning curve quite a bit. I wanted to ask you next. My understanding too is that you were a collegiate athlete, right? A baseball player.
Correct.
And I'm curious because I didn't play ball in college. But my son, I think we talked about this off air, Brett. He's going to be attending college next year, and he's going to be playing lacrosse, Division II lacrosse. So I'm excited about that. And it seems like there's athletes have some advantages, I think, from competing, especially at a high level in college. That's kind of my observation. Do you think being a college athlete at a high level like you were at helps at all in the business world? And if so, how? Can you talk about that?
I think it does. The biggest aspect of it is being on a team, whether that team is ball players, whether it's coworkers, or whether it's even clients now in today's business world. I mean, you're all striving and working towards the same goal, but the big difference is having an elevated passion towards success. So when I was playing ball, me and my teammates all had the same goal and passion to win a championship, go in the field day in and day out and be able to perform at our top ability. Same goes in the business world now. The teammates have changed. So now it's either coworkers or clients, but it's the same mindset of working together, finding out what's important, what needs to be prioritized, and working towards something together.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I know when I studied for the certified financial planner designation, this is going back 20 plus years or something like that. One of the key takeaways from that really arduous coursework and a pretty tough exam was that you can't do it all, that to serve clients, you're going to need help, accountants, attorneys, other financial professionals, your own team in your practice. You're gonna need help to properly serve the clients. And I like what you were saying there, which brings me to my next question. I see that you are a BFA designee. I just mentioned I'm a certified financial planner. I'm not very familiar with the designation. Can you tell me a little bit about that? And actually, first, what it stands for?
Sure, a BFA is a behavioral finance advisor. So pretty much I am certified to be your psychologist. I'm just joking. No,
I got
there's
nervous for
no
a second there.
there's no sofa in my office, and you can't lay down. I'm sorry. So what it really means and is the ability to be able to talk to a client and coach a client through not only the statistical portion of investing or financial planning, the numbers, the bones of it. It's the emotional or mental aspect of it as well. So obviously with different swings in the market, different economic type conditions, people react differently. So people react differently to their money gaining and losing. People like to win, they don't like to lose. So it's really the ability to have a conversation about what your emotions should look like, how to coach you through difficult times in the market, giving reassurance that the plan is the plan for a reason. So it really taps into that emotional and that psychological aspect where investments along with planning kind of tie into those both sides of the brain.
Yeah, I love that. Because it is personal finance. Everybody's situation is different, and that includes their emotional makeup, their history, their relationship with money. I asked you earlier, Brad, about what you learned about growing up, and I think not that we're putting anybody on the couch, but what they learned about money growing up really has a tendency to shape their views on money. Oftentimes, people that grew up with not a lot of money have a tremendous drive to have financial security. And that's a good example. Additionally, I'll say that my degree, I was an English major with a minor in history. And I think it's helped me over the course of my career, Brett, because that sort of liberal arts background, you know, helped me in dealing with people from a variety of different backgrounds and viewpoints. And addition, in addition to like knowing the finances and formulas and investments and all that stuff, that softer skill of being able to relate to people and be empathetic is important. And so I really like that designation. Actually, I find that pretty fascinating. The other thing I'll say is Dave Ramsey, the money guru, who I think has maybe the #1 rated podcast. He has a lot more people listen to his show than mine. I don't agree with everything Dave Ramsey says, Brett, but one of the things he often talks about when he's giving advice is that it's not just about math. It's personal finance and it's behavior. And that really resonates when he talks a little bit about that, because sometimes financial advisors could just focus on the numbers, but it's much deeper when you're dealing with personal finance. So that was a little bit of a soapbox speech, but I really like the BFA designation, long and short of it.
Yeah, I think you made it. I think you made a great point, though. I mean, when it comes to personal finance, it really is personal. It comes from different backgrounds, different cultures, different geographic regions. Everybody's different. And I know that's a cliche statement, but it's very true. Everybody has different beliefs when it comes to money. So being able to hear them, speak to them, and also coach upon them to help people is a huge aspect in our business. So I know we both have clients all over the country from different backgrounds, everything. So
Sure.
that's a really, really big thing to make personal finance personal.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if you're much of a reader. I'm an avid reader. I love to read, always have, probably stems from my English degree even. So I'm not sure how much of a reader you are, but if you could point to a book or two that are some of your favorites in the realm of business, do you have any off the top of your head?
I do. I finished one up recently by John Taffer. Everybody probably knows him as the host of Bar Rescue
Yeah,
on
yeah,
TV. He
right.
goes in, fixes up the restaurant, fixes up the bar, big bar expert, right?
Yeah.
His book's called The Power of Conflict, and it's not exactly the type of book that the title gives off. So when you watch the show, John comes into a failing bar situation, pretty much beats up the bar owner for a good 15, 20 minutes
Oh
until
yeah, yells and screams and a lot of dramatics and hysterics.
just gets after him. So the real beat him down to build him up type mantra. So after he does that, he then always brings it back to how he can help and how he can kind of build that situation back up from the ground. So his book actually really showcases getting to know what you can and cannot control. And also it gives you the ability to listen to other people while you're gathering information. That way you can get the best outcome for both people. So it's not necessarily geared at how to win an argument or how to best have conflict with someone, but it's really about getting to know yourself. It kind of gives you the introspection into your emotions and thoughts and be able to logically address different situations in your life. And I think that applies pretty well to most everything. How do you have a conversation with somebody in a restaurant, to how you talk to one of your clients on a day-to-day basis, or even someone that you run into at the grocery store. So it's a very interesting book, and I really enjoyed it.
I will check that out. I am not familiar with that, although I think I recently saw him on CNBC or maybe it was Fox Business. I saw him interviewed on TV recently. I don't recall ever having seen him outside of the show. So I will check that out. Any others before we move on?
That's the only one I got right now. We
All
can
right.
always go back to the how to win friends and influence people.
Oh yeah,
That's the
classic,
best. That's a classic. So
classic.
yeah, but those two are really good. I also like reading about history, so anything historical, that's right up my alley too.
Oh, we're going to get along great. I am a huge history geek. Read a lot of history, was a history minor, and we'll watch the geeky history shows too. So I'm all in on history geekdom.
I really enjoy the Killing series from Bill O'Reilly.
Me too. Yeah, I've read them all, including the most recent one, Killing the Witches. So I think there's been 13 of them, if that's right. I've read all 13, so I'm a huge fan
I'm
as well.
halfway through Killing the Witches, so don't give it away for me.
I'll be curious to what you say. You have to circle back with me because I'll just say I was a little surprised at the last one third of the book. And I'd like to get your thoughts on it after you're done to see if you share my interpretation of that. It's a little interesting. So come back to me on that off air, of course. But I
Will
want to
do.
put you on the spot next, Brett. You're a successful financial advisor, you second generation, as we talked about. I'm sure you have a lot of skills, as do I. But if you had to distill it down to what do you think some of your best skills as a financial advisor are trying to help clients and build your practice? What do you think, you know, your one, two, three best skills are? I know you have many, but what do you think some of your best ones are?
I really think that when you get into the world of personal financial advice, it can be really intimidating. So I think it depends on who you're working with, how you're working with them, and what the atmosphere is like. So I think one of the big things that I really can bring to the table is taking that intimidating type atmosphere and bringing my expertise to it and bringing it down to a comfortable level where you're getting to know me, I'm getting to know you, but it's also sharing of information on both ends. So what we're talking about is people's personal lives, very personal type information about themselves. And we have to combine those with working towards a goal. So if we can work towards a goal in a nice, comfortable atmosphere where it's a trusting two-way street, that's the biggest thing to me. Because the better information that I can get and the better information that I can give, the more on the same page we're going to be. So the old adage is bad information in, bad information out.
Right.
So if I can't get the best information out of you to be able to help, I'm not doing my job correctly. So I have to set up a comfortable atmosphere to do that in. When it comes to skills as far as investing, financial planning, all the nuts and bolts, like how to make the clock, yeah, those are all well and good. But at the same time, like I said, the big thing is really creating the relationship to a comfortable place where I can bring those skills in and then utilize them in the most effective, efficient way.
Yeah, I like that. Granted, it's my show, so I'm interviewing you, but if you were to ask me, Brett, this is even in my bio, I think one of my top skills is I have a knack for explaining financial concepts in an easy to understand manner, that empowers people where they feel comfortable making decisions in partnership with me that's right for them. I think that's a skill that served me really, really well. And I'll say the second thing, and having been around you over these last couple of months in preparation for this merger, is a word I used earlier in the conversation, is we want to help people. We want to help people be successful, and achieve their financial goals and build wealth and carry out the things that are important to them, and being empathetic and sensitive to their needs and what they want, that personal side of what we already delved into, I think is a great skill too, to be empathetic. And it relates to what we already talked about. It's not always about the numbers and how much money you have and how much money you save. There's another element to that, which is really, really important and often overlooked if you just read a newsletter or a magazine or a website about investing. So those are the two I would say for myself. And I want to ask you next, related to this, is can you talk a little bit about some of your just general wealth building rules? If you're talking to someone, say a young person who is looking to make good financial decisions, they're looking to win with money, they want to build wealth. Do you have some kind of principle, kind of wealth building rules you could speak to?
Sure, sure. First, I actually want to let's circle back real quick to your
Yeah,
last question because as you're talking, my wheels are spinning here a little bit more. And there's three things that I think are extremely important when you talk about. I wouldn't necessarily call them skills, but I would call them more principles. I would
sure.
say for those three for me are going to be understanding, education, and respect. So if I can have an understanding to find out more about your personal situation, like we just talked about, the ins and outs, good information in. If I can also deliver education, so educate you about the different types of topics that we're going to discuss. And then number three, have a respect for you, both you and your money. So if there's a individualized respect both ways, you can always work towards that goal that you're
Yeah,
looking to achieve. So just right off the cuff there for a second.
that's terrific. No, I like that. And then some wealth building rules that you could speak to.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, I would say always live within your means and always pay yourself first. So whenever we're doing financial planning, saving money, wealth accumulation, what are we really trying to do? We're trying to save for our future self. So 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years down the road, when we're in a situation where we don't want to work or we don't need to work anymore, we can look back and say, hey, when we were 35, 40, 45 years old and we were putting all that money into those 401ks, the IRAs, the Roth IRAs, we were really not only paying ourselves first, but we were paying our future selves.
Sure.
So that's first and foremost. One of the jokes I always use with some of my clients is you have to put your money to work. You have to send it to the gym, if you will.
Yeah.
So instead of opening up your Bank of America app and seeing all the money that you have sitting in cash, of course that is great to have a good safety or emergency fund, but at the same time, what kind of that money needs to go to the gym, needs to get fit, needs to get healthy. So maybe some of that money needs to get invested in so it can work for you later on down the road. Same thing with your physical health as well. You go to the gym now, why? To be healthy and also to be healthy and hopefully live a long, healthy life. So the same goes with money and building wealth.
Yeah, and we use the term classic when we're talking about Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. But the classic rule about live beneath your means and pay yourself first, save and invest first is classic time-tested advice that even in today's fast-paced modern world still is as important, if not even more important, given the potential distractions. So I love that you cited that. I would add when one of the wealth building rules I have in speaking with people, and I'd like your opinion on this, is, to be intentional with your money. A lot of people that are not financial geeks like you and I, they will tend to kind of put the money issue, off into the corner. They just don't want to look at it, either because they don't feel comfortable, they might be ignorant, might be embarrassed, they might know something's wrong, but they don't want to address it. They might believe they're too busy. But I think money is very important. It's not the most important thing. It's not unimportant either. And one of the wealth building rules I have is just telling people to just be intentional, be purposeful about what you're going to spend, what you're going to do with debt, what you're going to save for a rainy day, where that is going to go, whether it's in the bank or invested, whether you're putting it into a small business or investment in real estate, whatever. Just be intentional and purposeful. Don't have your financial plan just be unfolding basically on accidents. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Especially to your point of the different places where you can put your money and invest, whether it be in general investments, stock market, real estate, a small business. I think that's great advice.
Good. So as we begin to wrap up, a few personal questions so that everybody could get to know you a little bit more. And let me say, I appreciate you being so open with us and me on this episode. But you're good with money, I imagine. So with that established, what's the biggest mistake personally you think you've made with money so far?
So this one will go back. This one will go back to right out of my college days. So obviously, a college kid getting out of school, going into the real world, making money.
Yeah.
You have not only having the influence of my father, who shows me the right way, if you will, to do things, and I'll have to make sure to tell him not to listen to this episode because his head might get too big.
Just between you and I, we'll keep it a secret.
Exactly. So I would say coming out of college, getting into the industry, starting to become successful, growing my practice, considerable amounts each year in the first couple years, very fortunate to do so, and really falling into the trap of make more, spend more, living up to your income. So make more money, spend more money. It catches up to you pretty quickly, especially when you're younger, you don't know quite as much. And the biggest thing is being able to still have some play money during the month, but also still pay yourself first. So if you always get that income bump every year at work, spending up to that rather than putting some of that away for your future self.
Okay.
So just because you make more doesn't necessarily mean that you have to spend more. Um, that was a big one for me.
Yeah. And it's tough for young people when you first graduate. You're making good money and you do have pent up sort of demands because you didn't make money in all likelihood in college and you're living quote unquote the college life. So, you you often spend when you get done. It's sort of natural, but my daughter's 23, so she is, 18 months out of graduation, well, less than that even. So, I see this in a little bit of her is she's very responsible with money. I'm not criticizing her, but I could see the pull of wanting to, I'm making good money and I went to college for this, and it's a little bit of I want to do it now. If you're not careful, that could get a little out of hand, especially with piling up credit card debt, which of course is destructive to wealth building. Last question. We already established you're good with money. What is something that you splurge on?
So earlier in the show, we talked about me playing college baseball. So
Yeah.
I was a pitcher when I played. So obviously, when baseball players retire from baseball, they go play golf. It's just what you do.
It's the
So
pipeline.
I'd say I've shot in the 80s for many years now. Handful of rounds in the 70s, so not too bad here and there. It depends on the day, of course. But I'll tell you what, I'll really get hook, line, and sinker. These golf companies, they'll sell you on longer, straighter drives, better clubs, lower scores. So every year comes around, all this new golf equipment comes out, and that's anything that I can do for those extra 2 or 3 shots, I'll do it. And they haven't came yet, but one day it will.
All right. Well, you're a much better golfer than me, it sounds like. So I'll be careful if we end up on the golf course together. But that's good. That's something you splurge on. So listeners, thanks for listening in on Brett and I today. You could always go to my website, elliottwealth.com, if you want to get more information about me, the team here at Elliott Wealth, how we help our clients achieve their financial goals. So please check that out, and also subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so already. Once again, thanks for listening to today's episode. I'll be back with you on the next episode of the Simply Financial podcast very soon.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of Osaic Wealth, Inc., and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Please note, the information being provided is strictly as a courtesy. When you link to any of the websites provided here, you are leaving this website. We make no representation as to the completeness or accuracy of information provided at these websites. Nor is the company liable for any direct or indirect technical or system issues, or any consequences arising out of your access to or your use of third-party technologies, websites, information, and programs made available through this website. When you access one of these websites, you are leaving our website and assume total responsibility and risk for your use of the websites you are linking to. Securities and advisory services are offered through Osaic Wealth, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Insurance services offered through Elliott Wealth Management Services, LLC, not affiliated with Osaic Wealth, Inc.